Welcome back to FHL Community Episodes. We are in the segment called Culture Change. In order for things to change, we need to be aware of the present situation. We need to be aware of what's going on currently. In part one of this segment, Culture Change, I discuss a brief evolution of a false reality that social media has brought to our lives. We have become enamored by the avalanche of information streaming 24/7 in our society and even in our mind. We have based our decisions and our interactions with others that affected our emotions on a daily basis. Friendships have broken because of simple comment on Facebook. It's crazy, but this is the current reality we live in. We need technology, but we should not be slave to it. Rather, make it a servant for what we were created for, authentic relationships. We have to harness the technology power to assist us in going back to the basics, which is the great commandment, and that is rooted in relationships, loving God and loving others. In this segment, we will touch base on Reformation. It's a big word and encompasses numerous aspects of our lives. Dictionary.com has given us words related to Reformation. Listen to this: transformation, renewal, reorganization, realignment, rebirth, abolition, reestablishment, amendment, reform, correction, alteration, improvement, reconstruction, rehabilitation, rearrangement, renovation, change, shifting, restoration, and recovery. So we cannot really talk entirely about this because it's a huge word, but I hope that this segment will give us some things to think about the Reformation, because our culture is changing. Our tradition need to be challenged because of the changing atmosphere in our society. The word Reformation is closely related with Reformation of Christianity, instigated by Martin Luther with his 95 Theses published in 1517. There has been holy discontent in the Catholic Church, and there had been movements even before Martin Luther. Some notable people before him were John Huss, John Wycliffe, and Peter Waldo. However, the 95 Theses sparked the fire that cannot be put out and will soon spread all over the world. Other reformers arose independent of Martin Luther, such as Ulrich Zwingli and John Calvin. Reformation brought the media revolution through the printing press. By 1530, over 10,000 publications are known, with a total of 10 million copies. That's what Wikipedia said. The reformers used the power of media, but they did not replace the physical human interactions with it. They continued to meet on a regular basis. They lived together as a community of reformers and soon became successful in changing the course of Christianity forever. In our present age, in many instances, technology has become powerful than authentic relationship. One only has to look at some of the behaviors of our children who have secluded themselves away from others, but created a social media and virtual communities within the confinement of his or her room. In short 17 years, our world has changed and evolved into a 3D, augmented reality, or virtual reality. Last year, 2020, like most nonprofit organizations, my organization, Faith, Hope, and Love Community, spent countless hours and finances to create a virtual fundraising. We used emails, phone calls, and video promos to bring people together virtually. These were necessary but proved insufficient when it comes to fundraising and in building the kind of power that organizations need to bring about advocates and supporters, the reformers of our days. As I mentioned earlier, within 2 short months of establishing relationships, FHL harnessed the power of a community. Not only were the volunteers served, but they also provided finances for the cause. The media and news came to report on the movement, and soon churches, foundations, and businesses came together to offer assistance to fulfill our greater cause. Watch this.
And a new drive-through food pantry is opening up this morning on the northeast side of Indianapolis. Sunrise reporter Sarah Jones is live at the Faith, Hope, and Love Community drive-through pantry. And Sarah, where exactly is this drive-through pantry? I think you mentioned it's in Castleton, right?
Yeah, Alice, it's in Castleton. It's on 82nd, right off of 69, and it is in a drive-through facility, so there's actually a drive-through window that you can see over here, and volunteers will be here, and they speak both English and Spanish, and this window is where they will be offering resources, and that's because these boxes are so huge they actually don't fit through the window, so they actually give the food through this door and can load them into the back of people's cars or anything like that. But Faith, Hope, and Love Community, which is the missional pantry behind this food drive, says they actually want to provide hope and love and faith for the community as well.
This is intentional, especially now that people are hurting, especially now that people are hungry. We would like to offer that prayer to them, and we've seen so many positive responses to that aspect of this missional food pantry.
There's so many items here. They offer both perishable and non-perishable items, and this space is so unique that they want to offer not just a food pantry, which they do on Saturdays, starts at 10:30 and will go till noon today, and then every Saturday from 10:30 to 11:30. But also on Tuesdays, they're doing a food drive where people can actually come up and drop off donations from 4 to 7. You can drop off perishable and non-perishable items, monetary donations, or toiletries.
I hope you were inspired by that video that you have just watched. So, how can we influence the culture to shift the current norm to transform our society? When I train church leaders and organizations, I always emphasize the importance of experience. I have seen this happen in my own life. My wife and I would go to a restaurant not just to eat, but to experience good service and immerse ourselves in the atmosphere that they created. The restaurant business thrives in creating an atmosphere of community. They can transport your mind to be in certain places such as Italy, Mexico, or the Philippines. By painstaking preparation, vision casting, and training, we can create best experiences for our supporters, volunteers, and the recipients of services. Once people understand the cause of an organization, and with proper orientation and training, they will start moving into advocacy and ownership. They become change agents who support and defend the organization. Some of them may become activists and would recruit other like-minded people alongside them. Some of them may create networks and collaborative groups. And effectiveness of this approach is demonstrated by City Reaching Movement, when they recently launched the Evangelism Explosion simultaneously in 3 different cities and joined by 30 churches across 3 different time zones. They have increased their impact by identifying like-minded people in different cities and give them autonomy to self-organize within certain values and beliefs. It is not simple, but it can be done. Lao Tzu, a Chinese philosopher, once said, "A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step." This means that major accomplishments such as culture change can happen, but one should take the initiative of taking even a simple action. One person can change history, and one relationship can blossom into a nationwide advocacy. I have been in this path in more than a decade. When I started neighborhood makeovers in Indianapolis in 2005, what was supposed to be just a one-time event became an annual mission trip in your own backyard that later birthed our organization, Faith, Hope, and Love, also known as FHL. The movement became large enough that even the Indiana governor proclaimed FHL Week every year in the state of Indiana. We mobilized over 50 different organizations for a week of projects on an annual basis, with average of about 1,000 to 1,200 volunteers working not just 1 hour or 2 hours or one day, but for the entire week. However, 4 years later, I saw that people were very excited in helping for just a day or several days out of a year. It has become an event. I wanted more. I wanted to create a culture of service rather than service events. I wanted to influence others to adopt a life of mission. This simple shift in thinking have reformed my organization into a training and discipleship entity to bring about different way of serving people through the context of a food pantry. I learned throughout the years that most volunteers would avoid commitment to serve on a regular basis. They want the service part of the outreach more than the relationship building that could bring transformation in a person's life. Giving food is much easier than to navigate through the complexities of building relationships with others. History says that food giveaway tradition started back in 1960s when someone started to give away food to the hungry. Soon, many other organizations followed this example. It became norm to just give away food to others. They created systems in gathering large amounts of food and in creating better procedures in storing and giving away food. This became the nature of what we now know as food pantries all over the nation, and it became norm of how to operate a food pantry. Give away food to those in line. This system proved to be effective if the purpose is just to give away food to those who are hungry. One of the U.S. presidents, Benjamin Franklin, said in 1736, "An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure." He said this to the fire-threatened Philadelphians to illustrate that preventing fire is better than fighting them. In my years of operating and overseeing food pantries, I've seen many able-bodied recipients who were enabled to rely on several food pantries for their food needs rather than being inspired and empowered to have a better life in the future. In part one, we covered the importance of relationships in changing the culture and in reformation of the status quo. Through establishing relationship with the recipient, a volunteer can find out the deeper needs of an individual, such as job training, addiction counseling, or even introducing Christ in his or her life. Change does not happen randomly. We need intentional process to change the norm, to start reformation of any status quo, such as food pantry operations. Better information means better ideas that may result in better ways of life. We need to be intentional in creating change, in establishing learning spaces and methodologies if we are to impact the lives of others in the process of giving food. Awareness, reformation, training, and empowerment. Remember, you have the power to bring kingdom solutions and resources to to world problems and challenges. Until then, God bless you and see you at our next FHL Community episode.